Hi, it's Dana. Time for this week's question. This week's question comes from Katie, and she writes, "My son is going to be 3 next month and will not sleep any earlier than midnight. He has all sorts of energy at night and he just can't fall asleep. I would make his bedtime 9 or 10, but he doesn't end up falling asleep until 2 or 3 hours later. When he wakes up in the morning, he's exhausted. How do I get him to fall asleep earlier?" Wow, midnight. That is very late. Even 9 or 10, that's still too late. I mean, what happens with all people, adults included, is that we have something called our circadian rhythm, and it's basically our rhythm of daytime alertness and nighttime sleep. But even throughout the course of the day, we take little dips, around the 10 o'clock hour, most people feel a little bit of a fatigue. Again, in the afternoon, around 2 or 3, we feel a little dip in our rhythm. And another dip happens right around the dinner hour. Right around 7-ish, 7:30, we usually feel fairly tired, but then we could catch a second wind, and that carries us through until our normal bedtime. And so what I guess is happening is your 3-year-old is catching a second wind. And what often happens when a second wind is caught, especially in a 3-year-old, is that they seem really hyper. They're running around. They're usually in a great mood, really fun to be with, giggling easily and being a bit silly and really sort of in a hyper mood. And a lot of people think, oh, well, he just doesn't seem tired. Look how hyper and happy he is. But that's because you waited too long, and now overtiredness is setting in and hyperness is setting in, and it's going to be all the harder for him to calm down and get to that place he needs to be in order for sleep to come. So I'm going to suggest something pretty radical here, and that's move his bedtime way up to 7:30. And I mean, I can already tell you're probably cringing, thinking that it's just craziness, but honestly, he should be in bed by about 7:30, 8 o'clock at the very latest. I mean, anything past 8, and I'm worrying that a second wind is going to get caught, and then he's going to be hyper. And when a child's overtired, if you've ever had a night where you're really overtired and you climb into bed and you know you're exhausted, but you can't get to sleep, you're tossing, turning, you feel fidgety, it's almost like you feel like you drank too much coffee right before bed, it's sort of a jittery feeling. That's the same for a child, and so that's going to make it even harder for him. So back way up. Start with a nice bedtime routine of about a half an hour long, after dinner. Get him into a bath, get him into jammies, have a couple of stories, maybe a little snack, something like yogurt or a piece of cheese, and then into that bed. And if he needs help falling asleep, you haven't really said exactly how he ends up falling asleep, but if he needs you to stay, then don't actually crawl into bed with him. Sit beside the bed or just leave and check on him. And it might take him a while to fall asleep, because it sounds to me like he probably just crashes out of pure exhaustion at the end of the day. So he probably doesn't really know what to do with himself in the time that it takes to actually let sleep come. And you might need to go in and check on him or return him to his bed a few times. But again, make sure there's consequences for coming out. Comes out once, that's okay. One warning, don't do that again, or else something will happen. And a good one I like to suggest is that you lock a door, meaning you just close a door and hold it closed for a few minutes, just to send the message that that's the consequence for coming out. Then give him another chance to make a great choice. If he comes out again, now you close the door for a few more minutes, and each time he comes out, you close the door a little bit longer each time until he realizes that that's not good, I don't like it, I'm going to stay in my bed. Okay, so you got to back way up. Another thing you should be watching out for is television. In our house we have a no TV after dinner rule. I think TV, even though a child sits and stares quietly at a television, it's very mind stimulating. No video games right before bed. Start winding things down right after the dinner hour. That it's bedtime. You could even do some bedtime reward charts with him. A 3-year-old, he can definitely understand that there's rewards to going to bed early, that if he cooperates through his routine, he might get little stickers or a reward for that. If he stays in his bed, there'd be a reward for that. So yes, you've got to move bedtime up. It's way too late. And basically, if he's getting up in the morning for school or for daycare, or if you need to get ready for work, he should be sleeping about 11 to 12 hours a night. And so if he's not going to bed till midnight, he really shouldn't be getting up the next day until noon. And that's just not really going to work in this world. So back it way up. He should be going to bed no later than 8 and sleeping till about 7 or 8 in the morning. Another great idea to do is put a clock in his room, put a digital clock in his room, cover over the minutes so all he can see is the hour, and then start talking about, the number 7 or the number 8. The number 8 means bedtime, the number 8 means wake up time. Nobody, is allowed to get up until the clock says 8, and he goes to bed when it says 8, and so just to give him a bit of a time frame for when bedtime is and when morning time is, and just to help get his clock back on track with going to bed early. So I hope that helps. Good luck with that. Thanks, and sleep well.